Welcome to the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Wong, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. This is a place where you'll be guided to living your most aligned life so that your truest, most radiant self can emerge. We'll be jamming on topics ranging from spirituality, entrepreneurship, to wellness and lifestyle design, and everything in between that can support you to grow, evolve, and shine, all the while not taking ourselves too seriously. So if you're ready to step into your leadership, break through limiting beliefs, own all of who you are, and expand in abundance, grab yourself your faith cup of tea and let's dive in. Hola, it is Michelle Wong. Welcome to the Mexico edition of the Sacred Emergence Podcast. I am recording this live in Mexico in my bed and breakfast. And I'm just so excited. I can barely sit still for this podcast. So, okay, let's just go straight into the receiving experiment. And then I'm going to share some downloads that came through for me yesterday. But if you've been following me on social media, you'll know that I literally just launched the receiving experiment as a 22-day experiment on receiving. So this is, it's an experiment, but you can call it a quest if you want. We are going to open up to the experimentation of seeing what amazingness we can attract when we are in the energy of receiving, in the energy of abundance, and in that vibe, and not even just doing it by ourselves, but it's a collective energy of the more we tap into that space of expansion, more goodness is going to come through. And I've been doing this with my gals in the Unfolding membership. We've been doing this for over a week now, and I'm just so floored by what's coming through for each of the women and even myself. And there's this momentum that's starting to unfold. And so immediately yesterday, I was like, I need to launch this to the rest of the world. So I literally just shared one post. And right now, right before I started recording this episode, another person signed up, and I wanted to make it super accessible for people. So right now, before I officially create the branding, it is available for super, super low price. It is so low because I really wanted every woman to say yes. So by the time you hear this is going to be launched on Monday. And so my intention was, once my branding is launched, once I do more promotions for it, the price will go up. And then right now it's in super early bird pricing, and then it's going to go up to early bird pricing. And once the program officially starts, there's going to be a set price for it. So check the link in the show notes for the current pricing. I don't know when you'll click on it, but it is happening from May 1st, and it's going to run through the 22nd of May. And catch me on Facebook Live. This is why following me, connecting with me on social media is beneficial, because you'll get up-to-date information. And I also love you for listening in on the podcast. So the more you listen to this closer to the launch date, the more you're just going to get the goodies. So anyway, that is the receiving experiment. I'm going to do a few lives throughout this upcoming week around what really motivated me to create the receiving experiment. And I might have shared it already. You know, when I do these podcast episodes, I literally, whatever wants to flow through, flows through. So if I repeat myself, you'll just have to bear with me. Okay, so here's what I really wanted to talk about, and it all goes into the receiving energy. So I decided yesterday that I'm no longer bending to money. Money's just going to have to catch up with me and my standards. It's so interesting how for so many years, and I know this, I knew this on a logical level, but actually taking ownership and claiming it was something that was really scary. And I know that, as I continue to learn and grow, I'm not going to be perfect at it. But in this moment in time, I'm really anchoring in my decision of I'm no longer bending to money. Money is going to have to catch up to my standards, my desires, and what it is that I want. I have tolerated so much, so many things that was below my standard over the past 5 years. And I don't really want to go into all the details, but I can give an example of even me being in Mexico. I booked my current bed and breakfast for basically 9 days. When I initially booked it, it was going to be for 12 days. But I decided for the last 3 days, instead of staying from the last 3 days here, I'm going to go to Cozumel, which is, it's a 12-mile ferry ride, so only like 45 minutes. And I'll stay there for 3 nights. That way I could snorkel, I can experience a different island. And then when I come back, I'll move to my apartment that I'm going to have for a month. And so that was what I had in mind when I planned for everything, so that I don't know, there's no overlap in my lodging. However, now that I'm here and I'm scheduled to be in Cozumel this coming Thursday, so 3-4 days from now, I was getting really stressed. I was getting really stressed because I only have carry-on luggage. I only have 2 backpacks. One's big and one's like a school backpack. And I have 3 human design textbooks with me, super heavy. I also have, all of my travel size liquid, which adds up. I have my clothes. I have just all of my stuff, right? Because right now, for the next year, I'm living abroad. And the idea of lugging my backpack in the front and in the back, and I swear it feels like it's over 50 pounds, in the heat, in the sun, waiting for the ferry, walking to the downtown area. Even if I take a taxi, I had to catch a taxi with 2 big backpacks. I was starting to get very, very stressed, because when I was traveling on the flight to come over here, even walking like 5-10 minutes to the bus stop, to the bus terminal from the airport, I was like, my shoulders were so tight. It was like I was getting a headache. My jaws were very tight. And I was like, why am I torturing myself? Why don't I just extend my stay here and leave my stuff here, bring a small backpack with me to go to Cozumel? Like, why don't I just do that? And logically, I was like, this makes no financial sense. Why would I pay for a lodging here when I don't need to? I'm not going to use any of the services. I'm not going to be enjoying the breakfast because I'm not going to be here. Why am I paying extra? And I'm like, because I don't want to torture myself. And so I just made that decision to book for the remaining nights here. And then I decided to cut my trip short to Cozumel. Instead of doing 3 nights, I'm going to do 2, because it was going to be stressful to have to manage the checkout process. And I'm like, well, if I do want to go back to Cozumel, I can totally go back. But for now, I'm just going to go for 2 nights. And what I really wanted to do was go snorkeling, so I get to get that trip in. And I get to relax and, spend time on a different island. And a lot of times, what we think in our mind, like, oh, is 3 nights enough? It tends to be more than enough, right? And so I'm just in the space of abundance and really giving myself the expansion and the space for more to come in. And I really trust and believe that the more I'm in the space of abundance, the more is going to open up for me. And always, always in that energy of gratitude, of celebration, of really receiving. And so this was just something flowed through me. And yesterday I was like, I'm no longer lowering my standards. And so often we do that. And we don't recognize the good that's in our life, right? And so I'm just so excited, because right now, I feel like there's this wave of amazingness that I'm on. And honestly, when I first got here, I had to kind of get into the groove of things. There was a few things that was a little bit stressful, but everything has been sorted out. My unit has air conditioning. The first night I arrived, it was a little bit of, I was in a bit of a daze, because it was a 5-hour, 20-minute flight. I didn't eat that much. My backpacks were really heavy. It was really hot. By the time I arrived in Mexico, I was getting just I think the headache was from the heat and not eating enough and a heavy backpack. And I was so looking forward to coming into my unit and my room and having air conditioning and just being able to rest a little bit, because I landed in the evening. But there was no air conditioning in my unit, and I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to survive the next 9 nights here without air conditioning. But everything sorted itself out, and the owner has installed an air conditioning unit in my room, so everything is just beautiful. And yeah, so I feel like I'm finally in my groove. And the next month, I get to move into my new space for a month. And I received my visa for Bali. I received it the day I was moving out of my apartment in Seattle. Literally, the day I was moving, the movers were coming. And I was checking my phone, and then I got the email that I got my visa for Indonesia, aka Bali. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this is all happening. And so I know a few episodes ago I talked about getting unstuck. So when we are in action, things start to move forward. And so this is the same thing, right? As long as we continue to speak what we desire, things will unfold. So that's for the manifester, even manifesting generators, right? We speak things into existence. And so it's been so helpful for me to really like get that into my body. Like the more I speak my desires, the more the universe gets to support me. And I had a conversation with a beautiful friend who's been in Mexico for the past 6 months. And I'm going to have her on the podcast, but she's incredible. She's a channeler. Her and I had lunch the other day, and it was the first time we met in person. We connected through a mastermind that we were in a year and a half ago, and the wisdom that she gave me was just so spot on, and it was so in accordance with my human design as a manifester that I was like, oh my gosh, like this was exactly what I needed to hear, and it really helped shift everything for me. And so I realized yesterday that so often, like we let money control us, right? We let money control our decisions. And of course, like there's a part of it where we don't want to be irresponsible with money, right? We don't want to be like, oh, like I'm just going to trust that money's going to come in, so I'm going to, blow my budget and get into credit card debt. Like that's not what I mean. I just mean like it's like if I have, $60, $90 to ease the pain and suffering of having to like carry big ass backpacks and decrease the suffering of possible headaches and being in the heat and sweating, and it's going to be worth the $60 to $90, right? Especially because I have the money, and I also trust that more of the money is coming in, that it gets to be easy. I get to use money for my good, like for my benefit, instead of having to like make it so hard. That's not the right energy. And so a lot of it is coming back to the gratitude, coming back to the receiving and to the expansion. And it requires practice. Like it's a journey, it's a practice. And that's why with the receiving experiment, right now in the Unfolding membership, it's already happening. It's at a slightly like more, I guess, laid back pace because it's not a full on course, but it's an experiment that we're doing. And I'm just so floored by what the women are sharing in terms of what is coming in, what they're receiving, and the things that they're celebrating in terms of receiving. I'm just like, that is so good. Like I need to recognize that in my life, right? So often we miss the good in our lives. And so the receiving experiment is an opportunity to really like create a ripple effect in the collective energy of expansion, of receiving, and being in the feminine. Easier said than done. And so I chose 22 days because 22 days is enough that, it is long enough that it makes a difference, but also short enough that we could do it. Because it is a muscle that we're building, right? When it comes to receiving, it sounds easy. Oh yeah, just receive, just receive. But being in the receiving experiment for about 10 days now, it is a muscle, right? And so doing together raises the energy, it raises the collective vibe, and it really expands the opportunity for this. So anyway, that was quite a mouthful that I just shared. That was a download that's been flowing through me, and I'm just so excited for what's to come. So Mexico has been really, really awesome so far. I actually feel safe in Mexico. Initially, I was a little worried because I didn't know that much about Mexico, but I feel safe. In the area that I'm at, like everyone is very friendly. The locals are very friendly, very, very kind, and the woman who's managing this bed and breakfast is super sweet. And I think what shifted for me here was when I met my friend for lunch. It just felt like, oh, I know someone here, and it just felt more familiar now. Um, and then over the weekend, I had brunch with a group of women that I've never met before, but there's a Facebook group for women in Playa del Carmen. And so I had joined them for brunch, and it's basically like a networking brunch, like where you just get to meet people and, get to know each other. And the majority of us are either digital nomads or we've been traveling for a while. And it was just really, really fun to connect. And I forgot how amazing and open-minded people are when we travel. Like, this is where traveling is a must, I feel like. For those of us who can do it, traveling is a must, even if it's vacation, because we let our guard down in a good way. We open ourselves up to other people. There's more open-mindedness, and then we get to experience another culture. And it was so, so amazing to meet other women from all over the world. I met a woman from Barcelona, two women from Paris, another woman from Germany, and just like, there's just energy of, I would say, abundant energy, and it allows us to open up to a different experience. So that's the vibe. And yeah, so much more to come. But if you want to join us for the receiving experiment, I'll put the link in the show notes. It's just going to be a PayPal button, a PayPal link that you can just pay. It's a one-time thing. And of course, if you're listening to this after, then I don't know if it's going to be held live, but keep your eyes out. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, and you'll see, whatever offering I'm offering. So whatever offering I'm offering, like, that made a lot of sense, but you got it. You get what I mean. Anyway, so sending you all so much love. If this episode resonated, please share it. Tag me on Instagram at michellewong.xo. And I'm so excited for what is to come. I'm celebrating you all. Love you all. Thank you for tuning in. And I will talk to you all soon. Cheers. Thank you for listening to the Sacred Emergence podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And thank you in advance for sharing this with others who can benefit. Until next time.